Hello, everybody, and the peoples and the democratic citizens in the United States of America, as well as the Korean citizens. In this moment, only by correcting the distorted history of the Republic of Korea, we can properly protect liberal democracy. In order to achieve this goal, we believe that we must recognize history correctly. We created a photo album based on the Korean War and wrote it in Korean and English. Through this book, we hope that the healthy, free citizens of Korea and the United States will recognize the correct history and move forward together healthily toward the future. Dear President Donald J. Trump, I would appreciate it if you could forward this letter and video to President Donald J. Trump and his staffs. My email address is below. If you would like to contact me, please send me an email. Address as follows: dustwnd7@gmail.com. Once again, repeat: dustwnd7@gmail.com. Honorable President Donald J. Trump. Hello, my name is Suyong Choi. In English name is David Choi, the director of Indo-Pacific Strategy Institute in the Republic of Korea. This is a bit long, but I honestly urge that you should to listen to the end, and I will introduce myself. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Americans for their great kindness to the Korean people during the Korean War. I am a former case officer of the National Intelligence Service of the Republic of Korea, and I was a secret agent, the case officer, who mainly dealt with North Korea and the Chinese issues on the ground. I graduated from the Department of Chinese Language and Literature at Seoul National University and received a master's degree in Chinese simultaneous interpretation from the Graduate School of Interpretation and Translation at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies and worked mainly in China, the Americas, and Asia regions. I still vividly remember President Donald J. Trump's speech at the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea on November 8, 2017. President Donald Trump's brilliant speech moved many Koreans and was a great force in protecting liberal democracy during the 5 years of the Moon Jae-in administration, which clearly seemed to be a spy for North Korea and the Chinese Communist Party. I believe President Donald J. Trump will remember, but at the time he gave the following speech. When the armistice was signed in 1953, 36,000 American soldiers had died in the Korean War and 150,000 had been wounded. They were seriously injured. They were heroes and we honor them. We also honor and remember the tremendous price the Korean people paid for their freedom. Korea lost hundreds of thousands of brave soldiers and countless innocent civilians in this terrible war. Most of this beautiful soul was reduced to ashes. Many parts of Korea were scarred by the war, and the Korean economy was greatly affected. But as the world knows, over the next 2 generations, something miraculous happened in the southern part of the peninsula. One household, one city. The Korean people have transformed this country into what is today. Korea has now risen to become a great nation in the world, and I congratulate you on that. In less than a lifetime, South Korea has risen from a terrible catastrophe to become one of the wealthiest nations on earth. Today, the size of the Korean economy is 350 times larger than it was in 1960, and the trade has increased nearly 1,900 times. Life expectancy has also gone from just 53 years to over 82 years. I want to celebrate this as I did during my campaign. My colleagues and I have prayed honestly for the past 4 years for President Donald J. Trump to be restored to the presidency of the United States. We have been confident that God will answer our prayers. So, in order to give you a gift when you return as President of the United States, we created a book, Korean War, Records of Freedom and Life, which is highly regarded as a book that introduced the Korean War through storytelling centered around photographs with the speeches you gave at the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea on November 8, 2017 in mind, which is the most accurate introduction to the Korean War. As you read this book, you will realize the President Donald J. Trump speech to the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea on November 8, 2017, regrettably omitted any specific mention of the sacrifices and the dedication of great Americans. So, the film that my colleagues and I produced, Korean War in Pictures, Records of Freedom and Life, mainly captured the sacrificial and dedicated images of the great American soldiers. In this book, contrary to the false claims of communists that American soldiers massacred civilians and communist prisoners during the Korean War, you can find the scenes of American soldiers treating wounded North Korean communists and Chinese soldiers and saving their lives. Even photos of seriously ill North Korean prisoners being transferred to a U.S. Army hospital in Japan for treatment, and the United States Military Command evacuating all civilians and conducting operations before the fierce battle with the communists began. And you can find the scenes of the United States Military Command valuing human life above all else. In addition, humanism is introduced in many places, such as the one appearance of American soldiers providing food and medical support to refugees who are fleeing, treating children who have become war orphans after losing their parents and feeding them food one by one. Moreover, you will discover that it was your American soldiers who, even in the midst of the war, created the orphanage to care for war orphans and schools to continuously help the children with their studies, thereby laying the foundation for the development of the Republic of Korea through education. Moreover, you will discover that today's economic development was due to the great decision of the United States government to provide economic support not only through money but also by building industrial facilities, providing education, and even transferring technologies even during the war. This book's creator, Jae-chul An, is a Korean American originally living in New Jersey, United States of America. After attending the funeral mass for Captain Leonard de la Rue, who had been a member of the U.S. Merchant Marine Meredith Victory, that rescued the 14,000 North Korean refugees during the Hungnam evacuation during the Korean War at St. Paul's Abbey in New Jersey, USA, on October 14, 2001, he suddenly jumped into this book to reveal the true face of the Korean War. Since then, in order to inform people of the humanism of Americans during the Korean War and the surprising historical significance of the fact that the United States protected the Republic of Korea, which was so similar to what the United States showed during the American Revolutionary War and the American Civil War in protecting the values of the freedom that people should enjoy and the nobility of human life. I've been traveling between Korea and the United States for the past 25 years to excavate and educate about the Korean War, working 24 hours a day on this task. My colleagues and I would like to once again express our gratitude to our great parents in the United States who sent 1,789,000 angels, the Korean War veterans, to protect the freedom and the lives of the Republic of Korea and its people during the Korean War. And I want to once again thank you, the great American taxpayers, for investing $68 billion to protect the freedom of the people of the Republic of Korea and rebuild our country. My colleagues and I are currently working on sending this book to Korean War veterans and their families in the United States to show them that their sacrifice and dedication have made South Korea the world's 10th largest economy and military power in 70 years, and to express our gratitude to them. I also want to testify to people around the world through this one book that although everything was destroyed during the Korean War, their sacrifice and the dedication of the great Americans allowed the Republic of Korea to grow rapidly into a global economic and military power in just 70 years. The author of this book, Jae-chul An, revealed that the Korean War was a war of world freedom, protection of freedom of the world, in which 67 countries participated as allies under the leadership of the United States at the time when there were only 91 independent countries in the world. The Guinness Book of the World Record in the UK, based on Zechel Ann's 100,000 pages of the research and investigation, registered this fact as the Guinness World Record as follows. The most countries to support an ally in war is 67 and was achieved by nations supporting the Republic of Korea during the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. Date September 3rd, 2010. Registration Zechel Ann. If this book is introduced to people all over the world, countries that doubt that the identity of the United States, which holds freedom and human life as the most precious and do not know the true values of the United States, and therefore dislike the United States, will discover the true humanism of the United States and come to like the United States. Also, people around the world will be able to see the warm and sacrificial nature of Americans. And even those who did not understand President Donald J. Trump well will be able to easily understand his sincerities. The people of the Republic of Korea have received tremendous love from the great United States, and thanks to that, in just 70 years, they have transformed from a beggar nation into a country that exports most advanced technology, fighter jets, and even submarines. If the people of the Republic of Korea take the lead in testifying to the world that if we become friendly with the United States, our economy will grow rapidly, the number of the anti-American country will decrease, and the number of the pro-American countries will increase significantly around the world. After the Treaty of Amity and the Commerce between Korea and the United States was signed in 1882, American missionaries entered the Korea Peninsula. Koreans received all of the modern civilization from American missionaries, and they also received the most precious gift of freedom given by God. The people of the Republic of Korea still vividly remember the love of God and the freedom taught by American missionaries. As a result, liberal democracy and the market economy were able to flourish, and the country was able to rise as a global economic power and military power. In order to show the world that God's alive to people who do not know God, this book contains the miracles of the God showed to the people of the South Korea on page 99 and 100. Pohang City was devastated by the bombing, but the only church at the time, Pohang Church, was left standing alone without being destroyed. If all Americans and the people around the world saw this photo, they would easily realize that the God protects us and is always with us in any dangers. The ROK and U.S. Christian Alliance which began with the freedom and the gospel brought by American missionaries, developed into the ROC-U.S. military alliance during the Korean War, and now, 70 years later, has developed into the ROC and U.S. Semiconductor Alliance, ROC and U.S. Steel Alliance, ROC and U.S. Defense Industry Alliance, ROC and U.S. Energy Alliance, and the ROC and U.S. Shipping Build Alliance. My colleagues and I are working hard to distribute this book to many Koreans so that Korean companies can invest more in the United States. Since the U.S. is currently in a difficult economic situation, I think the way to repay the favor extended to Americans 70 years ago is for Korean companies to invest more in the United States and purchase more U.S. energy than they do now. However, what is unfortunate is that in Korea, there is no proper history education on the Korean War. And due to false history education by those brainwashed by anti-Americanism and communism, young people in Korea, and even middle ages and the older people, they do not know much about the Korean War. If many students and even middle-aged people in Korea read this book, they will discover the true humanism that blossomed during the Korean War and the American military showed, and they will come to know the true value of America, and they will come to love America, and anti-American rallies will disappear in Korea. It is also certain that all Koreans will have feelings of gratitude toward the American military. If this book becomes known to many Koreans, they will try to pay at least $10 billion, in addition to the $3.5 billion for stationing U.S. troops in Korea. If we pay $10 billion and use the remaining $6.5 billion to build an unthinkable aircraft carrier on the Korea Peninsula. The security sector between Korea and the U.S. will become more solid, and if we build naval and air force bases on Baekneung Island, Deokjeok Island, Gago Island, and Jeju Island on the west coast, and allow the ROC and U.S. allied forces to work together, the dismantling of the Chinese Communist Party will accelerate significantly, and China's advance into the Pacific will become fundamentally impossible. In South Korea, pro-China leftist groups make a living by shepherding of about $100 billion per year. So, if we just cut off this funding source, it would be very easy to double the current defense budget, and providing $10 billion for the cost of the stationing U.S. troops in Korea would be no problem at all. The Indo-Pacific Strategy Institute is a small research institute that studies all strategies to bring down the Chinese Communist Party. However, it is still weak and it cannot promote this book much. So, I'd like to ask President Donald J. Trump one thing. If I send you this book, please take a picture of yourself holding it and show it to people around the world. This book is in English and Korean, so if President Trump takes a picture with it, people all over the world will see this book and they will love America and President Donald J. Trump. And I think there will be Muslims who did not know God, who will realize that there is a great God and they convert to Christianity. We are also trying to teach this book as a basic curriculum for all students who go to study abroad in America universities from Korea. We also appeal to you to help students who come to study abroad in America study the Korean War properly with this book. If that happens, elite young Koreans will study hard about the Korean War in order to go to American universities and will feel grateful to Americans. One more request I have is that this book be distributed to public libraries and schools across the country so that every student in America can learn American history from this book and realize how great their grandfathers and grandmothers were. In 1857, fueled by the spiritual awakening movement started by a young man named Jeremiah Renfield, elite American youth were sent out to spread the gospel all over the world. However, only on Korean Peninsula did Christian civilization flourish. And when the Korean War broke out, the Republic of Korea, the poorest country in the world, and the United States, the most powerful country in the world, signed the Korean-U.S. Mutual Defense Treaty on equal footing. It was a miracle possible because God recognized South Korea and the United States are as brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. During the Korean War, American mothers and fathers were truly great people. South Korea was born through the devotion of American missionaries and because of the sacrifices of American mothers and fathers in sending their children to Korea. South Korea has become a global economy powerhouse and military powerhouse and has become the vanguard of the defense of the free world. If we educate all the youth of America about these facts, they will respect their grandfathers and grandmothers, their fathers and mothers, and they will grow up to be excellent young men who are obedient to their parents. If education about the Korean War is actively carried out in Korea and the United States, young children will realize how terrifying the atrocities of the international communist forces, including the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea, are, and they will stay away from communism and totalitarianism. If President Donald J. Trump could take pictures with the book just once, the Korean patriots who are fighting the Chinese Communist Party and the pro-Chinese leftist forces in Korea would receive tremendous strength, and President Yoon Suk-yeol would be able to return safely. Thank you for listening until the end. May the grace and the blessings of the Jehovah God be with President Donald J. Trump, the United States of America, and the free citizens of the United States of America, always and everywhere. Thank you again.